Hey, my Go Tribe. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And today I want us to cover a topic that I feel is very important and not spoken enough of. So, if you can do me a favor, just watch the full video so we can make informed decisions for the future. Now, when we speak of something as important as love, I understand that in this new generation, it is harder to find a partner. So, eventually, when you do come across someone you love or you like, or you guys are compatible, you want to jump into it, you want to get married, have babies, and live La Vida Loca. But please, when we make decisions like this, let's not forget one very important part of being compatible, and that is when you speak about your genotype. I know a lot of people would ignore this aspect because they say, oh, after all, God will find a way, or it doesn't really matter, or the chances of you having an SS child are very not as high, but actually, it is not worth it. So I want everyone to get tested to know exactly what their blood groups and genotypes are, because I also know that it is not the easiest of conversations to have when you're on a date, getting to know someone. But when I tell you, it is one of the most important parts of that date. Getting to know someone, apart from the fact that you guys are attracted to each other, and yes, you find out that you're compatible on different levels. Knowing what your genotype is determines a lot what your future will be. And it's funny that before while I was dating, this was always on my top note. I needed to know what your genotype was, and a lot of people will lie. Majority of men will tell you, oh, they are AA, so in your mind you feel safe about it and you ignore it, thinking whatever you are, you're safe. But it's not true. You actually have to eventually see those papers before you get emotionally attached to a person. And right now there are a lot of women also, which, my goodness, help your future children for the love of God. A lot of women will know that they fell in love with a person with AS or even S, and they would still lie and say, oh, they are AA, hoping that somehow God will magically change the outcome of that relationship. I believe at this point we're too old not to know that you cannot wish upon a star or go to church to pray for certain things, and that would actually change the outcome of your situation. You have to be mindful that if you do end up pregnant and having a child with an AS person and you are AS, or maybe he's S, the chances of you actually having a sickle cell child, which is SS, are very high. It might not come in the first child, but it might come in the second or third child. And to you, you're just going to tell the child, oh, sorry, I apologize, I feel bad for you and everything. But it's the child that actually has to go through a lifetime of pain. Now, the pain of having sickle cell can go from mild to moderate to extremely high. And we're talking about future blindness, bone pain, constantly being in the hospital, constantly in pain, for the love of God. There are so many. If you read up on it, there's so many. It extends beyond. And what are you going to do? Just say, oh, I'm sorry? So at some point in life, your child has to be more important than anything else. Please understand me when I say love is beautiful, love is kind, but if you do it the wrong way, you could affect the future of your children. And I speak to Nigerians especially, and please understand this. For years, we have thought that only black people have sickle cell. It's actually a lie. There are certain parts like the Mediterranean, Indians, even part of Eastern Europe have also cases of sickle cell. So when you're doing the whole blended family, also know this, because a lot of people will tell themselves, oh, if I'm AS and I date a white woman or I date a white man, my children will be safe. That is not true. Please educate yourself on this issue. I bring up this topic because I don't know what my father was. He was either AS or SS, but he also, because he had multiple children, he also had quite a few SS children. And coming from a place of not even understanding how severe that case was, these are children that end up being sick. My father eventually lost one of his children because the child got sick and he thought, oh, it was malaria. So instead of him to rush that child to the hospital, he decided to do what every other Nigerian does by treating the child in the house. And when it eventually got worse, on the way to the hospital, the child passed away. This is negligence. We put ourselves in situations that we do not understand, and we now think we can solve the problem. And I know a lot of people, because this is a vast conversation, a lot of people will think, oh, there are different ways to it. Yes, there are ways you can educate yourself on this, and yes, you might find a partner, but not everybody has the financial backing to deal with a situation like that. Now, if you have the money and you're equipped mentally to deal with the process, you can also do IVF screening. You can do genetic screening. There are many ways to do it. You wouldn't get pregnant the traditional way. They would take your eggs, search for the best ones that don't have those traits in them, and then insert them back in you. But how many people have this? How many people have this? There are also the other sets of people that have the financials, that end up with an SS child, that end up having another IVF baby, basically as a guinea pig, just to supply certain things from one child to the other. It is not fair on your children. The burden your children have to carry just because you're selfish is ridiculous. And I don't want to use the word selfish because it's a very sensitive topic. But sadly, in my mind, I don't see any other word to use for it. I see cases every single day. There's a specific woman, unfortunately, I don't know her name. She battles this every day. Every other day, she's in the hospital going through intense pain, all because her parents made a decision to have children when they knew they were not compatible. I know for a fact that finding love is difficult. Oh, it's even worse right now. So, for those that are not in love, I really feel bad for them. But for those that can make a decision from early, and mind you, we're even speaking of marriage. Let's not talk about all those other people who just have an adventure and end up getting pregnant. You are risking the lives of your children just for a moment of pleasure. When we think of fixing our society, when we think of fixing the way people think, we need to also focus on important things. The children we bring into this world is important. A lot of you will do all your screenings and testings before marriage, and you ignore certain parts that you are not compatible on many other spectrums. We have a lot of disabled kids right now, and a lot of people will say, oh, I love my children so much, bring them into the world, but you bring them to suffer. It is a very difficult topic. I see a lot of images of children that I'm like, what life do you expect to give to that child? What life? Every pregnant woman in Europe or wherever they are, they go through around 4 months, 3.5, 4 months. They go through a series of screening to check for every single abnormality. Yet a lot of women will say, oh no, God gave us the child, so let's bring them into the world. But how are you going to fend for that child? Majority of these kind of people do not even have the financial backing to take care of that child. What happens when you're not here? Because a lot of people feel like life it goes on and on. Life is unpredictable. If you do not have the resources to create proper help for that child, to cater for that child, what's going to happen to the child? Let's all be realistic. I know a lot of people, especially those that have mild syndrome when it comes to something like SS, they somehow manage through life. But imagine as hard as Nigeria is right now, and I speak mostly to our Nigerians because sickle cell is higher in West Africa, So what's going to happen? You think it is normal with everything you have to go through with the economy, with bad governance, with potentially being kidnapped on a regular? You think you want to add being in pain constantly? Pain is a thing that, oh my God, once it's there, it's there. It doesn't really go away. A lot of people are walking normal because they don't have those burdens. But someone like me, for example, dealing with my hands or my knees, I know exactly what I go through. Now, I am AS, right? But when I did my whole testing, I realized that according to the scans, I had more portion of S, although it doesn't really make sense. But still, that means you could probably be prone to a lot of changes. It's not worth it, man. I understand there's love and I understand you want to, but imagine how can you even control a situation where, okay, let's say you do IVF. What about those moments when you might miscount your ovulation and you end up pregnant? What are you going to do then? Please just be mindful. I see too many people going through pain on the internet right now, and it breaks my heart. Majority of them will end up begging you at the end of the day, but you can't even keep up with that, even if you wanted to. Please just think about the outcome of whatever decisions you take today. If God blesses you with the financial backing, do the needful. But no protection is 100%. No pills are 100%. Be mindful.